We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support this channel through a donation, hit the $ where the comment section is. Put it in the comment. We'll get to it as fast as we can. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue, PATC community. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. We told you. We always tell you to keep your head on a swivel. Emergency live show. We already did one earlier today. We went into the Holy Smokes Theater. Oregon State and Washington State opened up the auditorium doors and walked in and sat in row number 35. Breaking news, breaking news. The ACC has amended their complaint against Florida State. They're going for damages because of what Florida State did, even challenging the grant of rights. The ACC is attempting to take the voting rights away from Florida State. Now, I'm going to be going through some tweets. I'm going to be going through an article here. I'm not a lawyer. You guys know I'm not very smart. I like to play a lawyer on TV, but I fail every single day, so I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your comments. I'm going to need your phone calls to figure out what's going on. But peek around the corner, the very first, right when this broke, picked up the phone, recalled somebody. This is not just, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to repeat this a few times. Look, as John Doe says in the chat, the ACC is a hot mess. Ted Evans, Washington Husky, early peak member, says it's getting messier in the ACC. I am not a lawyer. You guys know I am not smart enough to be a lawyer. But we do know this. This is not just a shot across the bow of Florida State. No. This is not just a shot across Florida State's bow. It is a shot across the bow of Clemson and anybody else who gets the trigger finger in challenging the AC's grant of rights. There is no question about that. There is no question about that. Now, let's get to the, we're going to go through the breaking news, Pete Thamel, the tweets, a little bit of an article by Sportico talking about Florida State's. They ran a little bit of a debt this year in the athletic department. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. We're just going to give you a little bit of more flavor of the landscape. But before we do that, let me get to the comments. I want to thank people who've come on in. Don in Kansas, early peak member. John Doe, David M., early peak member. Expedition Greg. AMAC is in the house. Go Black 45 is in the house. Interesting. If I was FSU, I would remove every piece of ACC material from campus and would not give them one piece of video footage. Very interesting. Gorb is in the house. Justin Lucas is in the house. The ACC actually has good lawyers. No question about that. They are being aggressive. Movie Time Blues. The ACC is full of pride. Ryan Brooks, early peak member. Excuse me. The divorce is about to get uglier. Stephen McNeely, we need a court date. Immaculate. Here we go. Jared Jones. Oh, it's on now. It is on now. Donnie McNearly, batter up. Okay, so let's get to Ted Evans, Michael Batt's in the house, Randy Taylor's in the house. Is it the ACC or ESPN? Okay, let's get to it. First of all, again, I'm going to have to lean on, and I'm the fat guy from Minnesota. So when I lean on you, you're going to feel it. I'm going to have to lean on the PATC community. Go back in their law books. Go back and let us know what you think, what this is all about. Pete Thamel. News. The ACC has filed an amended complaint as part of its legal jockeying with Florida State. Florida State has chosen to breach its contractual obligations. It has violated its contractual promise not to challenge the validity of the enforceability of the grant of rights. Summary of the claims. This claims involves Florida State serial breaches of critical legal promises and obligations, which is made over the last 13 years to the ACC. In 2013 and 2016, Florida State, along with every other member of the ACC, agreed to and executed a grant of rights in which it's transferred the exclusive media rights to all of its home games to the conference through 2036. By aggregating their collective media rights in the conference, the members realize more value from those collective media rights than if they had each attempted to market them separately. And the media partners of the conference were assured, the ACC, that they would have access to all home games of the members throughout the length of the agreements. These aggregated media rights resulted in agreements and contracts between the ACC and ESPN that provided a predictable source of revenue to the ACC's members, in which led to the creation of the ACC network. Pete Thamel. A key claim from the ACC in the amended complaint. This court issues a permanent injunction barring Florida State from participating in the management of the affairs of the conference while it has a direct and material conflict of interest with the purposes and objectives of the conference. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, the ACC is trying an attempt to take the voting rights away from Florida State. Now, remember, Washington State and Oregon State were successful in taking the voting rights away from the other 10 Pac-12 schools, but those schools had officially notified the commissioner and all the other presidents in the conference of a notice of withdrawal. Florida State haven't done that. Florida State hasn't filed an official notice of withdrawal. 30 days, they're supposed to have their payment ready, write out a check for all that is owed to the ACC in the next 30 days. Florida State's not doing anything like that. So is this going to hold up? Is the court going to issue a permanent injunction barring Florida State from any participation? Let's say it what it is. Voting rights within the ACC. These are the claim of the amended claims of the ACC against Florida State. First claim for relief. Request of declaratory judgment that the grant of rights and amended grant of rights are valid and enforceable contracts. Second claim for relief. Florida State is stopped by its acceptance of benefits or has waived by its conduct any challenge to the grant of rights and amended grant of rights. Third claim for relief. Florida State has breached its promises in the grant of rights and amended grant of rights agreements. Fourth claim for relief. Florida State has breached its obligation to protect confidential information. That's an interesting one. Florida State has put out some information that none of us knew about. Right? Fifth claim for relief. Florida State has breached and continues to breach its fiduciary obligations to the conference under the ACC Constitution and bylaws and North Carolina law. Sixth claim for relief. Florida State has breached its obligation of good faith and fair dealing under the ACC Constitution and bylaws. Mitt Winter. Hopefully everybody's following Mitt Winter sports law. This is significant in the ACC lawsuit. It's asking the court to enjoin Florida State from participating in and voting on ACC affairs while the lawsuit is pending. I'd say, this is Mitt Winter, I'd say the relationship between the school and conference going forward is not going to be good. Yes, I would agree. So ACC is asking for the court to stop Florida State from participating in, not even part of the talks anymore within the ACC. Not participating, not voting on ACC affairs while the lawsuit is pending. Holy smokes. Now, this is an article. We're just going to go through it real quick here, and then we're going to get to your comments. And then we're going to get to your phone calls. Because, again, I'm leaning on all of you to figure out what does this all mean. Florida State saw 2023 costs soar ahead of ACC exit fight. Florida State University says it spent $172 million on athletics 2022-2023, a spike of $22 million from the previous year. However, the Seminoles' revenue did not keep pace over that same period of time, increasing only about $9 million. In light of this, Florida State Athletics reported ending 2023 fiscal year with an overall deficit of $2.5 million. Not really a big deal. Just showing you the lay of the land. We talked about it in our live show earlier today. There's going to be reports, right? The schools have to disclose their athletic department revenue to the NCAA by this coming Monday, January 22nd. So you're seeing leaks. You're seeing information, how much this school made, how much that school made. Earlier today, we saw Tennessee going over the $200 million mark for the first time. Penn State going over the $200 million mark for the first time. Now we're seeing Florida State at $172 million. And you got to consider this, Florida State's argument, that 200 and some million Tennessee, 172 Penn State, that doesn't even have their new media deals taken effect yet. The new media deal money is not in the Penn State numbers or the Tennessee numbers. Okay. It's the latest lens on the Seminoles program that has been vocal about financially falling behind its rivals at other conferences. Florida State is currently suing to get out of the ACC and hoping to land in a richer league. The school is also in talks to raise private equity funds to bridge the revenue gap. These Florida State numbers come from the school's NCAA membership financial reporting. Skip over that. This is a graph showing the Florida State athletics and expenses and revenues. Football and non-football. Okay, basically you see the revenue The expenses is at 172 million. The revenues are at 169. At the very end, whoops. I won't go any more of that down that road. It's just an article basically explaining Florida State's financial situation. So again, Florida State, ACC, the relationship we know is absolutely wrecked. We get it. The relationship between Florida State and ESPN is probably as bad. ACC now has amended its complaint against Florida State. And basically, it's a case of suing for damages, I believe. It's also a case of where they're trying to take Florida State's ability away from them to participate and vote on conference matters. I'm going to show you something quick here. Ross Dellinger, ACC's amended complaint filed today in the suit against Florida State is a lot of the same. However, in a noteworthy item, it requests the court to prevent Florida State officials from participating in voting in ACC affairs while the suit is pending. Okay, now, there is a lot of different takes on this. Okay? There is a lot of different takes. Okay. I don't think I'm going to go with that yet. I got to check things out. Things are coming at me left and right. Okay. I'm going to get to your comments. We're going to get to your phone calls as soon as possible. We need a court date. No question about it. W. Scott Grier, isn't there going to be a problem between North Carolina versus Florida law? Well, again, Florida State's trying to get a court case in Leon County. ACC's trying to get it in Mecklenburg County. The ACC, so, they're in the state of North Carolina, right? So North Carolina law has to be involved in the ACC's lawsuit against the Florida State's Board of Trustees. Taking away their voting rights definitely seems like an overreach. That is what hit me. That is why I titled the show, Taking Away Florida State's Voting Rights. Wow. When does California, Stanford, and SMU gain their voting rights? Do they gain them in July or do they have them now? Probably in July, right? Trying to take away Florida State's vote is a non-starter. Garnet and Gold. Nice to have you in the chat. That is quite the reach. Quite the reach. I'm going to open up the phone lines here. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. Let us know what you think. And what's Florida State going to do? This, first of all, look, there's a lot of different opinions here. One is, and most of what people are saying, this is a leverage game, right? If it's heading towards a settlement, ACC, they want to say, look, we can sue you for damages. Look at what you've done. You're going to have to pay the $572. Or the ACC is going to be arguing there is no money amount. This is not going to be settled. The ACC is putting on the pressure. This is their leverage move. What does Florida State do? Are they going to double down on something here? What is Florida State going to do? Are they going to sit back and just let this go without any punchback? I doubt it. I doubt it.
Call from
Crab cakes and football.
Crab cakes and football, you're on the line. The floor is yours.
Now, Florida State knows what Maryland felt like when we were in the ACC.
Yeah.
We went through a lot of the same stuff. They kept trying to suppress us, this, that, and the other. Different commissioner, but back then was Swofford and everything else. But there was a lot of the same junk going around.
And you only had the exit fee. You did not have a grant of rights at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm just both sides, I'm just getting together, meet in a dark alley somewhere, say, give me $250 million, and y'all are gone. Just be done with it. Each of them wipe each other's hands of each other and never speak to each other again. That's the only way this is going to work. Because they're going to waste more money in the courts than they are actually dealing with it like men and women. So I just prefer them go ahead and just sever it, get it over with. I mean, completely sever it. Get it over with, and then let the Big Ten and SEC fight over FSU. And be done with it. And they'll be done within a week or two. They'll have a spot probably in a couple of days or a couple hours or whatever. I mean,
I don't.
But
I don't.
I just don't see I don't see any other ending, man. I don't see any way this gets repaired.
And we've been saying this every day on this. We do not think this is going to be quick. We don't think this is going to be quick. We've been told the ACC's been dug in. We keep talking about it here. This is another example. The ACC's not going to look. If there is a settlement, the ACC's going to go all the way with this. They're going to go.
And so will FSU. That's the thing.
Yeah, they're going to go. That's what I'm saying. This is not going to end quickly. And then there's another case, and then what I pointed out in the monologue, first call we made, and I mean we because it was me and somebody else on the line, and then another person. This is also a shot across the bow of Clemson. And who's ever thinking about, and we know they've been thinking about and planning it, to pull the trigger, to get into the fight, to get into the courts of South Carolina, because now you're possibly going to be sued for damages. You are going to have your rights taken away from you in the conference. It could be a horrible couple years for whoever follows through.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't this be the perfect time for Clemson to jump in on the side of Florida State? Now you got two schools, and then now Virginia Tech, or maybe not Virginia Tech, because they're tied with UVA, but whoever else, anybody, but not named North Carolina.
If it doesn't happen now, if Clemson doesn't jump in now, and of course we were told a couple months ago, and we reported that it was going to be between January 20th and February 6th, those 3 weeks right in there. And now with this, which I think which we were told is a shot across the bow of Clemson. If it doesn't happen now, if it doesn't happen the next 3 weeks, then Clemson's not jumping in, because this is the time. This is the time. You're either going to help Clemson and Florida State they know each other's game plan. Everything Florida State brought to the table at the Board of Trustees, Clemson had Florida State's game plan. They've talked about strength in numbers. This is the time, Clemson. This is the time to jump into the fray. If you're ever going to jump in, like Crab Cakes and Football just said, now is the time, and it's been your plan the whole time. That's going to be coming out here. It's been your plan. This is it. Pull the trigger. Because look,
this is where the strength in numbers will come in. If Clemson jumps in, Miami jumps in, and I don't know who else, maybe UNC, but I doubt it, but whoever else jumps in, now you got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 schools that are jumping in the same lawsuit. Yeah. Now the ACC's got multiple fronts they got to go against. Now they're going to really start losing the battle. And if they get like a SMU or Cal or even a Stanford to jump in, which is not even a part of the conference yet,
Yeah,
you
they're
know,
not
but hey,
jumping
you
in.
know what?
Yeah.
I didn't think they would, but
No,
I was throwing
no.
that out there.
No.
But some of these others, yeah. So
Let me reinforce something we have been saying the last couple weeks and what we said on the live show earlier today. This, according to Florida State Money Perch, who's been dead on the story for over a bleeping year, okay? He told us this. Florida State's perception is this is not a cookie cutter situation. Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, they're not going to be able to belly up to the bar and ask the bartender, give me the same drink as Florida State just had. ACC's dug in on Florida State. This isn't going to be easily replicated. The result between Florida State and ACC is not going to be automatically stamped to Clemson, North Carolina, and Miami. So if you want to get in the game, if you want to win at the game, if you want to get a settlement number, that's any time in the next 2 years, you got to get in the game soon. It isn't going to be like Florida State and ACC. There's a result in the case. Okay, and now Clemson knocks on the door of the ACC's office and say, I want exactly what Florida State just had. It ain't going down that way. At least this is Florida State's perception. Go ahead, finish the call.
Correct.
I apologize, crab cakes.
Oh, no problem. I like it when you're fired up. It's fun to listen to.
Yeah.
But no, I just think at the end of the day, I mean, you've got both of them firing legit stuff at the other, ACC, the list you just named. One of those will really stick, like you said, the one about the information that they're leaking. At FSU has some things that they're hurling back towards the ACC that'll really stick. So when it goes to court, it's going to be tied up, and it's going to cost them more money in the long run just to go ahead and settle now, come up with a favorable outcome for both, and just call it and just say, look, get out of my conference. I never want to hear from you again. Have a good day. That way Clemson don't jump in, Miami don't jump in, all these other schools don't jump in. Because once they start jumping in, whether the AC wants to believe it or not, they're going to be in more trouble than the schools will, because now you've got multiple schools out of your conference who's raising Cain. And when they start really raising the bar and the flag and all the objections and they're getting more public, the ACC is going to have no choice but to fold. So they better take whatever deal they can get now and hold on to the rest as long as they can before it gets too ugly, because they're going to be wasting more money in court than the other ones will, because the other ones are going to pull their stuff together, and ACC's not going to be able to pull their stuff together because they have no one to pull with. There's no other conference that's helping them out. So that's what I think. I mean, I'm not a lawyer or nothing. I'm a truck driver from Maryland, which lives in South Carolina now.
Yeah.
So I've been living in South Carolina for 25 years. So, but it is what it is. Yeah. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
I appreciate it, crab
Not
cakes.
a problem. All right, later.
Great call. Great call. Thank you, sir. Oh, someone hung up. Please call back. Please call back. Bill G, thank you so much for your generosity to the channel. Gift a membership, 5 of them. Holy smokes. Bill G, once again, you are cloak and dagger knighted. Thank you so much, Bill G, for your generosity. Holy smokes. A whole bunch of people picked up those gift memberships. Unbelievable.
Call from
Dan Sykes.
All right. I'm sorry. Did not get the name?
Dan Sykes.
Okay. The floor is yours.
Well, I am a Florida State University fan, but I am also an attorney. And I'm here to tell you one of the things there's a couple fascinating points about this lawsuit. One of the biggest things is the parts of the contract that the ACC wants to keep private. It cannot keep private in the litigation. And it's basically going to be revealed to the public records law in the state of Florida under Chapter 119. And so as this litigation proceeds, if they want to keep this fight up and they want to keep pursuing it, they're going to eventually have to give up the non-disclosure clause.
Okay.
The other aspect of this stuff, and this is the really big thing, is the aspect of the ESPN contract. Now, when it comes to that ESPN contract, I don't know if it's that ironclad, but the thing about it is ESPN has the ability to duck out of it if it wants to. That makes it an issue of bad faith on the part of the ACC in litigation with FSU. Now, I'm not about to tell you that this is going to be a cakewalk on behalf of FSU, but FSU's got the entire state of Florida government and its funding behind them against the ACC, which is an unincorporated association. And if you look at the money in the situation and the political backing in the situation, I think the FSU is in a much better position in the long run for the fight than the ACC is.
There is a lot of good stuff we just said, especially, the part about ESPN being able to duck out of this, being able to duck out of being the distribution partner of the ACC 2027 and going forward. They can make that decision in 2025. Supposedly, Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, extended ESPN's ability to make that decision without a vote within the ACC conference, correct?
Absolutely.
That is a major weakness in the ACC. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer like you. I am not very smart. Everybody would tell you that. But I don't know how you could possibly conjure up all these penalties when it comes to the settlement between Florida State and the ACC, how you can mount up all these penalties towards Florida State years beyond 2027 when they're not even guaranteed to have a contract with ESPN beyond 2027. To me, as a simpleton, and that's what I am, it doesn't make sense. Do you agree, sir?
No. Oh, sir, you're spot on.
No.
And that I agree completely. And I think I think there's so many problems with the ACC. I'll tell you, there's one more thing that we haven't discussed. ACC is an unincorporated association. One of the things that FSU is questioning is the commissioner's authority on behalf of an unincorporated association to conduct litigation without a vote of all the members, which did not occur. Now, I haven't seen this latest amended complaint, so I can't really speak to the latest complaint, but I do know one of the factors that FSU has brought up is, where does he get this authority? Well, if they want to prove the authority, then they're going to have to disclose the contract that they do not want to disclose.
Yes, sir.
Follow me?
Yes.
So, there's a big chess game going on here.
Yeah.
But I would tell you that, the financial backing and who has more to lose in this battle, ACC's got much more to lose in this than FSU does. People are talking about FSU could be left without a conference. I don't think that's going to happen. You have Big 12 that wants that. I don't want to go to Big 12. I personally, as a lifelong FSU fan, born and raised in Florida, I want to go to the Big 10 because I think it does so many different things. It enhances our recruiting footprint. It makes us into more of a national team, and it sidesteps all of the shenanigans we've had to face with the SEC, in the the CFP game and ESPN. I don't want to have an ESPN contract. I would like to go with Fox Sports, and I'd like to go with the Big 10. And I think I speak on behalf of at least all the Seminole fans that I'm closely associated with and that I communicate with on a constant basis.
Now, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
I'm trying to establish what is like supposedly. Now I'm probably going to get this wrong, but supposedly ACC has until maybe February 16th to respond to Florida State's complaint that's filed in Leon County, and maybe it's close to that same date in regards to Florida State responding to to the ACC's complaint against Florida State Board of Trustees and Mecklenburg County. Are you hearing the same type of date, somewhere around February 16th?
Yes, but let me kind of step into that a little bit. I cannot speak to North Carolina's law. I can speak to Florida's law.
Okay.
And what happens is once you've been served and you've provided written notice to the court that you've been served and you're in the preparation of your response to the complaint, you have the ability to push that out for quite a bit of time, and the court could give you a scheduling order. I suppose they may have given them a scheduling order on when to have a response by. Now, that response is either going to be an answer or a motion to dismiss or both. I would submit to you both sides are not going to file an answer, because once you have an answer and that proceeds forward, then discovery starts. And the last thing, discovery is how you get access to the contract. And the last thing that the ACC wants is discovery going forward, because then they have to produce the contract, because there'll be a request to produce and they're going to be required to do that. That spring loads once you have an answer filed. So you're not going to see an answer filed by either one of these parties. You're going to see motions to dismiss. Now, the interesting thing about it is that, I've heard people talk about, well, maybe this will be removed to federal court. If the parties agree to it, that's possible. But what happens in federal court is, to have diversity jurisdiction, you have to show perfect diversity between the parties. ACC is an unincorporated association, and among its members is FSU and Miami, which both are citizens, or actually they're state agencies. Well, FSU is, but they're the state of Florida members of the ACC, which defeats diversity jurisdiction. If there's a question of federal jurisdiction, that I don't know if anybody's brought that up. I haven't seen that. So I don't really see this being removed to federal court. It's going to be either the state court in North Carolina or in Florida. But the problem they're going to have with North Carolina is North Carolina is trying to sue, ACC is trying to sue a state entity in North Carolina. Now, that may end up giving them federal jurisdiction. I hope I'm not being too complex with this.
No, that's fine.
But what's going to happen is you're going to see motions to dismiss both in North Carolina and in Florida, and then there's going to be a decision made by the court. And it could be that they join the cases, but it could be they don't join the cases. But the problem that ACC has is North Carolina courts will have absolutely zero jurisdiction over the Florida law questions that have been raised in the FSU complaint.
Yeah.
North Carolina can't make those decisions. Only Florida can make those decisions. And so if you want, my bet is this is going to ultimately be in the FSU's favor in the Florida courts. I may be wrong. Mm-hmm. Lawyers always disagree. That's why you have so many laws and so it's so complicated. But the odds-on favorite, from my point of view, is FSU, with the backing of the state of Florida, DeSantis and the Attorney General Moody. That's a heavyweight against an unincorporated association, which is the ACC.
Now, I lied. I said that I had one more question, but I lied because I have one more question.
Sure.
When you said something like, if it gets both are going to ask for dismissal. That's not going to happen. And then you said the court will decide the next step. What court? Who decides? Who decides if this gets bumped to federal court?
Well, if it goes to federal court, then an appropriate motion has to be filed in that court to remove it. Okay, and it would be removing both the North Carolina action and the Florida action. But the problem with it is which federal court does it go to? Does it go to Florida federal court or does it go to North Carolina federal court?
Okay,
and that makes it even more complex. And so it is quite possible it doesn't go to federal court, and North Carolina tracks on with this cause of action, and Florida tracks on with this cause of action, and then you're going to have competing judgments. And then, that is quite possible. But no matter how that plays out, North Carolina cannot make decisions. North Carolina courts cannot make decisions regarding Florida law. That is exclusively the jurisdiction of Florida, and that is the trump card for FSU.
So what we're anticipating is the ACC is going to ask for dismissal, and Florida State's going to ask for dismissal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Now, what's the timeline on that? I'm just trying to get to that next step. When do you anticipate a range of date in regards to both asking for dismissal with back and forth in the Mecklenburg and Leon County courts?
So both courts will end up doing scheduling orders on these matters.
Yeah.
But, and this is where it really gets complex for non-legal people, and they scratch their heads and ask why the hell do lawyers do this. Even if the court makes a decision one way or the other, you can rest assured that the side that loses on that decision is going to appeal. The appellate process can take years by itself.
Yeah.
So, that if you ask me, that's the ACC's potential ace in the hole dragging this out.
Yeah.
Because it causes other problems. But in the long run, eventually, if this litigation proceeds, it puts ACC in a position that it does not want to be in, which it's going to eventually have to reveal its contract that it wants to keep confidential.
Yeah.
Therein lies the rub for them. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So I hope you enjoyed that.
I appreciate it. Please call again, sir. We need you here at PATC because I just play act as a lawyer on this channel, and I don't do all that good a job. So thank you. Appreciate the call.
I think you've asked very intelligent questions, and I wish you the best. And I do watch you. So God bless you. You have a nice day, and go Noles.
You too. God bless you too, sir. Thank you. Great call. I've seen this posted a couple times. I've seen this posted a couple times. And people have sent me the DM, and I appreciate it. In fact, well, this is Matt Baker from Tampa Bay Times, and a couple of you, I believe you're in the chat. A few of you, a handful of you, have sent this to me in the DM, so I appreciate it. I've been carefully combing through the ACC's amended complaint against Florida State. My favorite part so far, in 2016, Florida State said it provided a fully executed copy of the grant of rights to a blogger named All Knows, who had posted it on a website, War Chant. So basically, this is ACC. This is ridiculous. And maybe I'm getting it wrong. You guys tell me. But, the complaint one of the complaints of Florida State is, the grant of rights, these things between ACC and ESPN. It's all locked up in a vault. Charlotte, we can't even take pictures of it. We can't even take notes of what it says in there. We can't take a copy of it. Now, ACC comes back, and one of their complaints today is saying, you've got it because, look, Florida State said, and it provided a fully executed copy of the grant of rights to a blogger named All Knows. So, I don't know. I just think it's kind of a different situation there. Again, let me know. Phone lines are open, 763-260-1333. I want to thank Coy for gifted a membership. Holy smokes. Thank you so much. Once again, Coy, you are knighted. Cloak and Dagger, peek around the corner. Cloak and Dagger knighted. Thank you so much for your generosity, Coy. I know someone's already picked it up in the chat. Thank you so very much. Check out Mitt Winter's last tweet. Got it. I'm on that right now. This is Mint Winter. Interesting approach being taken by the ACC here. It's using Florida State's request that it be declared to have given its notice of withdrawal in 2023 in the event the gore is declared invalid against it. ACC argues that means Florida State has breached its fiduciary obligations to the conference. So because the Florida State is asking the court, I don't know, again, this seems like to be a reach for the ACC. Again, the argument here is that because Florida State requested to declare that it has given us notice prior to August 15th, 2023, in event that the gore is declared invalid, ACC is arguing that Florida State basically did have a notice of withdrawal in that request, that it breached this. Look, I'm not taking any. That seems like a reach to me. The ACC has not given their notice of withdrawal. The gore has not been declared invalid. Let me know if I'm getting this all wrong. Once again here at Peek Around the Corner.
Call from
JD.
JD, the floor is yours, Mr. Seminoles. Let me set the table for you. Florida State. ACC goes after Florida State, damages, trying to take the voting rights away, trying to take Florida State's partition in the conference away, saying that they breached their obligations. The ACC is saying that Florida State breached its obligations because they asked the court to, if the gore is invalidated, that means they then kick it back to notice of withdrawal prior to August 15th, 2023. JD, let me know your thoughts. Let me know Florida State's thoughts. And is Florida State going to take a counter? Are they going to counterpunch this? Are they going to double down? Are they going to shoot something out at ACC? What do you think, sir?
Yes. I don't think any of this was a surprise to them at all. And I appreciate Mr. Sykes who called in, because I asked him to continue to call in if he would, because that was brilliant.
Yes.
And
yes.
And I hope he is a regular caller.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Because the fellow referred to All Knowles on War Chant, that's the gentleman I was talking about that is doing FOIA requests. I chat with him all the time. He's accomplished some big things in the legal field. So anyway, now what did he do? What he does in his current practice, I don't know, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, you know what they say about conspiracy theories? They're not conspiracy theories when they start becoming true. I was very skeptical of Regal Knoll, and most people talk about Regal Knoll. And Regal Knoll has been right on almost everything. Just maybe not the timing, but he's been right on almost everything. We found out recently he's a forensic accountant in the media industry. He knew about all this stuff. He knew about the details of the contract. He knew some of the options that FSU had. And some of his predictions, they might have sounded far-fetched. So sometimes he would just throw things out there that as things that he think FSU should do, and people would misconstrue them as far as what he was predicting. But dang it, sir. I mean, it is just like a big occurrence will happen, and then he'll cite back to something he posted 6 months ago, and we're like, there it is. There it is right there. And anyway, so I just felt like I should give him some props on some of the things, because even I at some one point thought that a lot of that was conspiracy, or not conspiracy, but a little far-fetched. And, oh, wow. Now, just so you know, Regal Knoll and All Knowles are nemesis a little bit online. It's friendly debates. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. But I don't. And the reason I brought up conspiracy theory, don't be surprised, or I will not be surprised if FSU was to give their notice of withdrawal or acknowledge a formal notice of withdrawal before this is even decided. You know, some of the things that have been debated online, you know, you and I talked a while back about, you know, would the ACC consider FSU's notice or asking the judge to more or less recognize the notice of withdrawal in 2023 instead of any future date. Now the ACC is more or less coming in and saying, yes, they consider that the notice of withdrawal. Is that the way you understand it as well?
Well, Florida State is not. Florida State hasn't, from their angle, they have not given their notice of withdrawal, but it happens if the gore is invalidated. The ACC is now saying, because you did that, you did give the notice of withdrawal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, part of me wonders if they're baiting the ACC into all these actions. You know, again, I'm not saying they are, but instead of you doing it, you're making the ACC as the aggressive party in all of this. I do not believe FSU will ever receive a monetary payout again from the ACC. It will not happen. I do not believe it. You could say, oh, no, they're contractually obligated. Well, they're trying to take their voting rights away. They're not going to pay them any more money. And one thing that was brought up online that was a very good point. Whether FSU has cleared their broadcasting rights yet or not, what's the point of them staying in the ACC? They might just get up and leave. Now you say, how are they going to do that? I don't know. But they have game planned this out. I got to give them credit. They have a contingency plan. None of this is a surprise. They knew what the ACC was going to do. They knew it. And they knew that the state of Florida was going to get involved. They knew that a lot of this, I mean, the game planning for this was up to this point. They've caught a lot of flack for it, but they are not surprised at all. And if their home is looks to be to the Big Ten in the short order, doesn't seem like the Big Ten is surprised either. Well, I can't say that because we haven't seen any action from the Big Ten. But if the Big Ten was to accept them in, I'm sure FSU at some point would have had to say, hey, this is our game plan X, Y, and Z. And because how else would it be anything other than some type of a court action or some type of a big, I don't know if media circus is the way to characterize it, but it would have to take a very big event to get FSU out of the ACC. So for any other conference to get shied away from adding FSU, you would know that FSU would have to go to extreme measures just to get out. I just think there's going to be fireworks and there's going to be twists and turns we never saw coming. Oh, I've got a few conspiracy theories, but I'm really not going to throw them out there because you will think I'm crazy. You really will. But it's just, yeah, I'm excited because I think listening to a few of these other lawyers talk, I think the ACC just escalated the timeline. I think they really think they can lose. I mean, what's your opinion?
I don't really have an opinion. I'm just going by what other, like the Florida State Money Perch, they believe the ACC's dug in. So I think just since we reported that's all the actions seem to have, I think they are dug in. Now, again, we just had the lawyer on. Are these two court cases? Is one state court going to defer to the other? Where's this going to end up? This is what we're all going to find out here, hopefully within the next 6 months or whatever it takes. I don't know, man. I do not know. I find it a little strange that the ACC would even care that Florida State showed the conference and media deal out in the public. That's one thing that, I don't know, that seems awfully strange in one of the complaints. Another thing is, and again, we talked about it when we opened up this live show, the second one of the day, emergency live show. This seems to be a shot across the bow of not only Florida State, but of Clemson.
Absolutely.
And possibly some other schools, because now the risks of Clemson doing something, ACC has just raised the bar on that, right? It's not just about it. Now we're potentially going to sue you for damages. Now, Clemson, if you do this, we're potentially, most probably going to be taking away your voting rights, your participation rights in the ACC. So that's what people are seeing as well. Again, it's probably going to take a day, a week, couple weeks, whatever. But I would anticipate Florida State doing something, saying something, right? They're not gonna try this out in public, but they're probably gonna have some sort of amended complaint on their own, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I would assume so. But I just with the way some of the complaints were written, for them to bring up things discussed on War Chant in your court filing, they're just reaching for straws. I mean, they were publicly embarrassed, I think, by some of the aspects of the quote-unquote trade secrets that were presented. I don't know. There's just a lot of things that, and like I said, I apologize. My mind's running about 5 million different directions because I could keep you on the phone for 3 hours going over about 5 different things. And again, but the ACC has a lot of power, but what power do they have of a member that decides to leave? I mean, the grant of rights provides, there's legal protections for the ACC with its members, but after a member decides to leave, will those rights carry on? They claim in the grant of rights that it does, but does it really? That's not me making an assertion. That's me raising a question. The ACC can claim, well, they have the rights to FSU's revenue for 13 years. They have the right to their ACC revenue. They don't have the right to revenue from another conference or if they go independent. And again, I'm not insinuating that everybody's going to just thumb their nose at the ACC and tell them to pound sand. I'm saying that, yes, they have rights, but it's not as broad as some people have made it sound. And that's for the lawyers to discuss. Those are just some random ideas that are out there, but it's just, I don't know. I think, and I'm going to wind this down because I'm about to go down doing a whole nother road. Just don't be surprised in 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, how this thing works out, that things that you thought that could never be true are true.
Yeah.
And or they materialized. And anyway,
all right, man.
I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna get off because now I'm gonna start talking in code here shortly.
Appreciate it, JD, Mr. Seminole.
All right.
Appreciate your
Have
time,
a good
man.
night. Thanks.
All right.
All right.
Great call by JD PATC's Mr. Seminole. Again, breaking news. Emergency live show PATC. Pete Thamel, ESPN. The ACC has filed an amended complaint as part of its legal jockeying with Florida State. And that's a great way of saying it. Legal jockeying, creating leverage. Florida State has chosen, according to the ACC's complaint, Florida State has chosen to breach its contractual obligations. It has violated its contractual promise not to challenge the validity or enforceability of the grant of rights. We read the complaint's key claim from the ACC in the amended complaint. And this is, well, the money shot of this whole complaint. We'll get to it in a second.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate. Can you just hold 1 second?
Okay.
I appreciate it. I just want to read this last part once again. Just going over. We got people coming on into the chat. Pete Thamel, again, the big story. Pete Thamel, the key claim from the ACC in the amended complaint. This court issues a permanent injunction barring Florida State from participating in the management of the affairs of the conference while it has a direct and material conflict of interest with the purposes and objectives of the conference. So, look, the ACC wants the court to say, look, in a permanent injunction, Florida State cannot participate, they cannot vote in ACC affairs until this lawsuit has been completed. Immaculate. Holy smokes. What are your thoughts? What's going on? Mr. Hawkeye, the floor is yours.
Well, first off, I get to talk to you twice today. How about that?
Yeah, isn't that something? That's terrible for you. Good for me, but terrible for you to talk to a gopher twice in one day.
It must mean something's happening, though.
I don't know. This, to me, Immaculate, this is a shot across the bow of Clemson as well. But go ahead. That's what I think.
No, I 100% agree. And while, obviously it's directed at Florida State, as far as I know, that court hasn't even agreed to hear the first complaint, right? Like, we don't have any movement on that?
Nope.
So, I mean, this kind of just looks like them throwing some stuff on the complaint and then calling some folks in the media and saying, look what we did. Like, this seems to be more about making a public statement than, anything extra on the legal side.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is because Florida State, let's be honest, they decided to try this in the court of public opinion to some degree.
Yep.
The way they did that. I think that's fair. I think that most of the Florida State folks in chat would agree. I think ACC has decided to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've thrown this on there. That court hasn't even agreed to hear any of this. So I agree with you. I think that this is kind of a shot at Florida State while the ACC is actually looking at some other schools in their conference.
Yeah, and we had a lawyer on earlier. I don't know if you've heard that segment.
I did.
But the lawyer said that he anticipates both sides asking for dismissal in the other person's court, right? For the ACC to ask for dismissal in Leon County, and Florida State Board of Trustees to ask for dismissal in Mecklenburg County. So that's like the next step, and they're probably both not going to get dismissals. And then where we go from there, I don't know.
There was multiple tweets put out by Thamel, and one of them, he was laying out the parts, and it was talking about how FSU had to abide by North Carolina law in this, or something to that degree. Don't quote me on that. But I saw that part. I was like, okay, that's where we might see some state of Florida elements come in. We'll see. I personally think this is just all still part leading to a settlement, but kind of makes you think that ACC is setting up. Like, feels like they're worried that ESPN is not going to pick them up in 2027. And they're kind of seems like they're playing a line of, hey, we might try and put that on FSU.
Do we have an exact date during the year of 2025 when ESPN can make that decision in regards to 2027 beyond? Is there an exact date, a deadline?
I don't remember one.
I don't remember
There might
one
be.
either. I sure would like to know what that deadline is.
But I would probably say whenever the original agreement was signed.
Mm-hmm.
Folks in chat are saying February 28th. So
Somebody in the chat saying February 28th
yeah,
of 2025? Justin Lucas,
yeah,
February 28th?
that's when they would have to make their decision. But to the point, if they made that agreement with ESPN without the approval of the president, and it actually is against the bylaws, which I don't know if it is or isn't.
Yeah.
Just saying from that angle, if they did that and say the court said that was whatever, I don't want to say illegal, but that goes against their own bylaws, that might get struck down, and that might then force ESPN to have to decide immediately, because that would revert back to the 2021 date, which means it's years overdue. I probably don't think it gets to that point, because that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that threat's been leveled privately, if that's at all possible.
Yeah.
But I know. Yeah, I did listen to that earlier. The lawyer speaking about it, and I found all that interesting. I know tonight we're having on Mr. Rohan.
Beautiful.
We're having him on tonight. That just happened to be it. That was already kind of in the works, and then this popped up, and it's like, oh boy. He's posted a few times, so I'm really looking forward to that one too, because I don't really know a whole lot in regards to the full legalities of this. It's just my opinion on it is it seems interestingly timed when they haven't even gotten that court to agree at a time to look at this, and they're throwing more onto the complaint. Like, is that supposed to help the judge determine that, okay, I do need to hear this, or is that a whole bunch to throw on there for public viewing before maybe the judge decides not to view it? I don't know.
And I should have asked that to the previous lawyer that we had. But that's my question is, are they trying to rush the, are they trying to get some, this is going to really sound stupid to a lot of people because I have no idea what I'm talking about here. So bear with me, chat room. Bear with me, Immaculate.
Yeah, we're all in unprecedented waters here.
Yeah, are they trying to rush a decision in regards to like an injunction? Like, are they trying to rush something before the case in Mecklenburg County where they're going to try to get some judge to say Florida State cannot vote, cannot participate until this lawsuit's over? Are they trying to get a decision made before they get a court case on their complaint, their previous complaint? I think that makes it harder for the state of North Carolina to pick that up, whatever court that is that's in that state. I'm not saying it's any particular level, whatever it is. But now you're asking the North Carolina court to remove those rules. Now, there is some comparison that could be made to what happened up in the state of Washington. Yeah.
And I think what they're going off of is Florida State in their complaint saying if the court finds in their favor, then they would like the court to also then say that Florida State put in their notice of departure from the conference at the time when they filed this. So I think the ACC is saying they are taking that to mean that Florida State's leaving, therefore they can no longer vote. And I don't want to say that they have like the benefit of that, but they might have actually just gotten precedent from the PAC situation.
I don't know, and
Oh, either I'm just bringing that up kind of devil's advocate a little bit.
Yeah, but the actions, at least some of the actions of those 10 schools that eventually left the Pac-12, they actually did send a notice of withdrawal to the commissioner and to all the presidents. In the ACC bylaws, and hopefully I still have it somewhere. Here it is. I got it up on the screen. To withdraw from the conference, a member. Now this is under 1.4.5 withdrawal of members. This is the ACC bylaw. To withdraw from the conference, a member must file an official notice of withdrawal with each of the members and the commissioner. So I don't, and we had examples of schools in the Pac-12 doing that when they told the conference that they're leaving for the Big Ten or wherever, Big 12, Colorado. This is not, to me, this is not that. To me, this is Florida State saying to the court, if you find the grant of rights, if you invalidate the grant of rights, we want our withdrawal notice put back before August 15th of 2023. So I don't think it is an oath. I think that part for me is an extreme reach for the ACC. But again, quite honestly, I don't know what I'm talking about. But go ahead.
Yeah, I really don't either. And I'm trying to remember back as you were talking. I don't know if like the other 10 schools of the PAC actually gave official notice in that regard either.
Yeah.
I think what the few schools were saying is that their agreements to join these other conferences were equivalent to the same thing. And that's kind of what I'm saying here, suggesting here that the ACC is trying to say, not that I'm saying it, but that the ACC is trying to say that Florida State, by putting that in their complaint, doing something similar. I don't know if that can actually be held yet. I have to ask a lawyer about that, and even then, that's still just a lawyer's opinion. It's going to come down to what a judge says. But I think that's what the ACC is at least, putting in there as kind of like a threat of you gave what we consider to be notice, even though, like what you're saying, by their own bylaws, it's not. But they're not trying to kick FSU out with that. They're just trying to remove their voting rights, saying that they don't have the conference's best interest at heart anymore or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's not like kicking them out. It's just removing their voting privileges. So to me, that's the one that I think draws in the state of Florida. That's the one that caused this whole thing to get a little ugly, because I think that's the one that might have a little bit of teeth to it. The rest of this, like you're saying, seems like a shot across the bow at Clemson and others. But that one, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's the one that we might be fighting over. So I don't know. I don't just think about that. That's pretty much all I got on this. I really just kind of see what everyone has to think on this. And like I said, if you got a chance, stop on by, and we're talking about this as well. So this is a pretty big deal, I think.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. See you guys later tonight.
Great call. Immaculate.
Call from
BJ.
BJ, the floor is yours. What do you got to say, good sir?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. I just have a few comments about the FSU ACC situation, and I just want clarity. I'm pretty well versed on it up until today, but today kind of threw me for a loop, because am I reading this correctly that the ACC is saying that Florida State is violating the agreement by wanting out of the conference?
By challenging the grant of rights. That's what they're. Yep.
So not them getting out, because I think the bylaw stated that they can get out under certain parameters, but the ACC is saying that the fact that they want to challenge the grant of rights is what is out of pocket from Florida State's perspective, right?
That's what it seems that they're saying. Correct.
Okay, got it.
But
and this is just my opinion. I do think cases like this are always litigated out of court. I don't see the ACC winning in this instance, and winning to them is keeping Florida State hostage in the ACC.
Okay.
A couple reasons why. For one, the uglier it gets for the ACC, the worse it is for them. They have to open their books, open communications with the ESPN, and I don't think ESPN would want their books and their communications to be open. I think when I read the initial filing, it was a lot of it was redacted on the filing in North Carolina, and I think the reason that the ACC gave that it was proprietary information or something to that effect. And the longer this goes, the more information that will come out, and it won't look good for the ACC. I think everyone knows Florida State's position. I think Florida State doesn't have anything to lose here, right? I think they made a decision to sign a contract that was just not a smart contract. And they're just trying to wiggle their way out of it. And I think they will. I think they're going to pay about $200 million, maybe $250 million. But I think they'll be out of there about 2025.
Well, a lot of people agree with you, BJ. This seems to me, or at least to some, that maybe what the ACC did here was more of a leverage. Do you think, or I should ask it this way: do you think, or when do you think the ACC and Florida State start meeting in secret? Not the legal teams they have now in Leon County and Mecklenburg County, but when do you think they start meeting in private somewhere in a desolated hotel room, and they start meeting on a settlement? When do you think that begins?
So here's the thing. So, I'm originally from Florida, but I live here in Colorado.
Okay.
My undergrad is at FSU. My graduate degree is here at CU Boulder. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm an aerospace engineer, actually, by trade. But I will say this. With Florida law, Florida has this thing called the Sunshine Laws. Basically, It states any public institution, has a right to open the books, and the state has the right to see what the contract is. And part of the Sunshine Law states wherever the jurisdiction is wherever the contract was signed. So if let's say if an institution signed a contract with a company based in New York, if the physical contract was signed in Florida, Florida's Sunshine Law states we have jurisdiction. So according to my understanding, that the president who signed the contract for the ACC grant of rights contract signed it in Tallahassee. So I think as soon as the jurisdiction is kind of handled, that's when the settlements will start. Me personally, I think it's going to be handled in Florida, and I think the ACC is going to want to push up to the federal courts. Mm-hmm. I think once that's handled, I think it'll be smart for both people or both sides to kind of meet privately, come up with a number, and and dead it basically.
Yeah, you could be on something. You could be on to something, or you're on something, BJ. But I think you're on to something. And I'll say this. This lastly. Not to interrupt you. I'll say this lastly. Yeah. I read the initial filing that the ACC put forth. It was horrible. It was horribly written. It was just like generic. So I'm not surprised that a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they had to amend it because it was redacted. You couldn't really figure out what they were suing Florida State for. Mm-hmm. And so
it comes across as very kind of ragtag,
Rush.
and it just doesn't look good for the ACC, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And I know there's been some lawyers doing a great job on college football YouTube channels all over the place, and they basically said the same thing. It looked like it was rushed. You know, they wanted to get it filed in Mecklenburg County the day before Florida State did their thing in the Board of Trustees meeting. So, yeah, a lot of people agree with you. Thanks for the wonderful phone call, BJ. Please call again, sir.
Oh, you have a blessed day.
You got it, man. Appreciate it. Please call again. Thank you. Great call. Go for Tony. Tough Tony. Greg, why did the Pac fail? Now the ACC is failing. The only logical conclusion I can reach, no hockey, pride on ice. I don't think that's why the Pac-12 failed, and I know you know that. You're just joking. Thank you for the super chat, Tony. I appreciate your generosity. Once again, thank you so very much.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas is on the line. The floor is yours. Holy smokes. What do you think's going on here? Why did the ACC amended their complaints? What's going on?
They're desperate, Greg, and to be honest, the ACC's arguments have more holes than a field full of golfers.
Holy! I highlighted that comment. Wow.
I mean, look, I read through that, and I mean, I don't litigate for a living. I mean, I deal with tax laws and things like that, so I can't really. I mean, I can't. But this thing to me fails the basic elements of torts. I mean, for a tort to occur, there has to be a duty of reasonable care, a breach of that duty, and then the actual breach of that duty caused harm, and there's actually financial harm. And none of that has happened yet for the ACC.
That's
and
true.
Also, in addition to that, FSU has a responsibility to the state of Florida, and those meetings have to be published under the Sunshine Laws. So, I mean, Florida, you can't be expected to have a duty to breach another duty. That's not how it works. I mean, this thing is gonna get tossed. I mean, it's not even gonna be heard. It's gonna get tossed, and it will end up first in Florida and Florida courts, and then the ACC will try to get it pushed to federal court. But given some of the main issues and how FSU's attorneys are approaching this thing's going to stay in the Florida courts. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, just this thing. Beforehand, I thought this was headed towards some settlement, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
No, at this point, I believe this is headed for total implosion. Total implosion.
When you say total implosion, do you mean total victory for Florida State or a high number settlement?
No, I mean a total implosion of the ACC. I mean, because if that gore gets tossed, it's over.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. And right now, if you're FSU, if you're Miami, I will be very interested to see how many amicus briefs get filed in that get filed in that Florida court. I'm very curious to see, because at this point, you have some that have every reason in the world to push for basically the ACC has decided to make this all or nothing, Greg, and they're going to get nothing. Wow. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, Jim Phillips is a smart guy, but this guy is absolutely clueless when it comes to strategy. And I mean, he's getting eaten alive. But I mean, beforehand, I thought this was going to be the ACC would survive and would lose a couple members. No, at this point, Greg, I think it's headed for total implosion. Implosion, because I mean, this thing, it's ridiculous. I mean, how in the world, and for Tony, I'm going to just say this. Tony, I apologize for this, this profanity, but how in the Badger, does this, having the Wisconsin Badger, could you not have the right to challenge something that you're being harmed from. I mean, to say you can't sue or challenge the legality of financial harm done to you. I mean, it's like, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry again, Tony, for the profanity, but it sounds to me like the ACC has a bunch of badgers. They're a bunch of badgers. But anyway, that's all I got, Greg.
Appreciate
Have a great
it.
day, and thanks for what you're doing. Bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Great call. Thank you, Ryan. Wow. The ACC will become a league of smaller private schools. And I also think the ACC might become more bi-coastal as well. I think we talked about it in the previous live show today. Washington State and Oregon State, they're going to keep their options open. If you didn't watch that show after this live show, go back to the first live show that we had today in the Holy Smokes Theater. Some movement within the Holy Smokes Theater in regards to the ACC drama. They're feeling a little bit more optimistic about an ACC implosion, feeling a little bit more optimistic that there might be a spot for the Cougars and the Beavers, and that is affecting how they're thinking about the potentiality of them building up a West Coast conference. The Pac-14, where the 12 Mountain West football schools fold in with Oregon State and Washington State, that is DOA. That is dead on arrival. That is not happening. That's just not going to happen. If Oregon State and Washington State can't quite get in to the ACC after their implosion, or if the implosion lasts a little bit longer than they're hoping that it's going to last in the next 2 years, then Washington State and Oregon State's plan is probably to pick off a few top of the Mountain West schools, maybe a couple ACC schools, become an 8-team conference. We do a deep dive in all of that previous in the live show earlier today, so go watch it. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Peek around the corner, college football's peek around the corner. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure your notifications are turned on because we can come on live at any time. We proved it again today. We had a show at lunchtime, and now we're having a show here in the early evening, late evening for those on the East Coast. That's what we do at Peek Around the Corner. We follow everything in college football. So if you like our channel, smash the like button. Please subscribe to our channel. Appreciate it. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. That was a great call. Oregon State, Washington State won't take all the Mountain West teams. If they rebuild the Pac, they'll be poaching from multiple conferences. Sounds like that's where it's heading, Stephen. But Oregon State and Washington State are going to take their time. They're going to be patient. They're watching the ACC. We covered it early in an early live show today. We covered the Mercury News, the strategy for Washington State and Oregon State. The Cougars and Beavers are monitoring what's going on in the ACC. We go through that. Again, if you missed it, after this live show, go back to our previous live show earlier today. Appreciate it, VC Noel. Appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Let's see here. Again, the phone line's open. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. There's a lot of information. Lots of information going around. There is, hold Holy smokes. Holy smokes. This is not college football related. This is not college football related. Breaking news. The Dallas Cowboys are not making a head coaching change. Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy is returning for the 2024 season. Per sources, Adam Schefter. Holy smokes. Wow. Whoa. Cowboy fans, not happy. Mansa Musa, per the Associated Press, the ACC is also alleging that Florida State disclosed trade secrets between the league and ESPN. Yep, we went over that. Again, I don't know. For me, it's very weird to put that into an amended complaint. Trade secrets. I don't know. Very strange. In my opinion. Very strange. Why would Gloria Nevarez allow Pac-2 just to poach everything? Well, what Gloria Nevarez did with Oregon State and Washington State in return for a scheduling agreement for the next 2 years is they put a price tag on what it would take for Washington State and Oregon State to poach Mountain West schools. $10 million a year. It goes up a little bit more each additional school after the first school that the P2 poaches. Oregon State and Washington State. If they were to poach a Mountain West school, it would cost them $10 million. The second team would cost them $10 million plus, I think, $100,000 or $500,000. But anyways, they could poach 6 schools of the Mountain West, and it would cost them $67.5 million. That would go to the Mountain West Conference. Everybody that we've talked to now is in consensus that Washington State and Oregon State would rather, if it comes down to this, if they cannot get to the ACC, that Oregon State and Washington State would rather pay the $67.5 million plus some potential other money, but we're not going to get into right now. They'd rather do that and poach the top 6 Mountain West schools than have all 12 schools join in a Pac-14 conference, because they're going to get a better media deal. They're going to be more highly rated G5 conference. So Narvaez did make a deal. And if you go back to our live show earlier today, we go through the John Wildner report about the negotiations, the number, that $10 million basically per school that it would cost for Oregon State and Washington State to poach from the Mountain West. That number was hammered down. It was a higher number. But there were certain schools in the Mountain West that did not want to have a higher number. And again, you can read what those schools were if you go back to our live show earlier today. The ACC secret sauce, VC Knoll. We refuse to be aggressive in the market and get the best value for our members. That is the secret sauce. That is the secret sauce. They revealed the ingredients in the ACC's secret sauce. Wow. Okay, we're going to shut down our live show for tonight. I appreciate you all coming in. This is our emergency live show. Please share it with the family and friends. The ACC, breaking news. ACC filed an amended complaint as part of its legal jockeying with Florida State. Florida State has chosen to breach its contractual obligations. It violated its contractual promise not to challenge the validity or the enforceability of the grant of rights. The key claim from the ACC in the amended complaint, this court issue a permanent injunction. It's asking for the court to issue a permanent injunction barring Florida State from participating in the management of the affairs of the conference while it has direct and material conflict of interest with the purposes and objectives of the conference. That's the breaking news for today. Emergency live show PATC again. Before you leave the chat, if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel, open up your notifications, keep your head on a swivel. Thank you for the gift memberships that have come in today, for Peek Around the Corner membership for those in the chat room. Thank you for the wonderful donations, comments, and of course, the phone calls. Keep your head on a swivel. Stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner as we continue to follow this story and all the other stories that are going on in college football. A shot across the bow of Florida State. A shot across the bow of Clemson. ACC has delivered a shot, amended complaints. Does Florida State react in public? We shall see. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.